In a sense, you know, the old fans will definitely recognize the album. It's not far off from what we've done before. Production-wise, there is a difference because we've used Tobias Lindell to do the final mixing. It's a bit more modern, a bit more punch to the production, to the mixing. And as for the songwriting, we've involved some external songwriters this time, more than we've done in the past. Because the last album I wrote like 95% of all the material, whereas this time we have actually external songwriters doing some of the songs, mostly without even input from most band members. I've joined on one song and just done some lyrics, so that's definitely a difference. But I think you know, without telling people, I don't think they would even be able to pick out those songs from the album, because I think they fit very well with the style that we've done.
Street Lethal is the 7th album by Swedish rockers Crazy Lixx. I could sum up this album pretty quickly by saying it's a mixed bag. There are several tracks that I really enjoy on this album, and a few that are filler. It's definitely not up to the standards of the first 4 albums, although I do like it better than the 2 previous albums. I wouldn't say any of the songs on this album are bad, but there are several that I don't go back to. The album tends to be too soft and too slow for my taste. I prefer my melodic hard rock heavier and faster, mixing in some slower stuff just to change the pace up a bit. But that's been an issue with this band pretty much since day one, so I can't really expect them to change after over 15 years of making music. My favorite aspect of this album is the lyrics. I feel like most of these songs have a more positive vibe to their lyrics, going into subject matter like reaching out for your goals, I will stand by you no matter what, rise above adversity, things like that, which is something you don't get a lot in modern music, so I really appreciate that. Style-wise, this is exactly what you would expect from a Crazy Lixx album. There aren't any surprises on here. Everyone performs serviceably on here. Without further ado, let's track by track this thing. The album starts with a pointless mini track. I don't know why bands do these intro tracks. I skip them every time.
Well, it's, you know, the whole album is based loosely around the theme of kind of martial arts, karate movies of the 80s, which we all enjoy very much in the band. And of course, a bit inspired by the revival of that thing, like by shows like Cobra Kai, for example. So I went back and re-watched a lot of the childhood movies that I really enjoyed. So the song itself is based around that theme.
The first actual song on the album is Rise Above. This is easily my favorite song on the album. It's my favorite song this band has put out since the 2014 album. And even then, this song might top my favorite songs on that one. This song is exactly how I like my melodic hard rock. Melodic but heavy. One of my criticisms for this band is that they're not as heavy as I would like them to be. This song is different. I really like the main guitar riff, and I love the guitar tone for this song. The song moves at a really nice pace. I really like the vocals during the verses. The chorus can be a bit cheesy, but I like it. It's very catchy and works really well with the song. It has a real uplifting vibe to the lyrics, even though apparently that's not exactly what the song is about. The first half of the guitar solo is pretty decent. I'm not a big fan of the second half, where it seems like they just do a bunch of hammer-on and pull-offs without any kind of melody. I don't mind a few seconds of that, but I wish they had gone back into something more melodic. Still, that's a minor nitpick. This is a fantastic track, and one of my favorites from 2021.
It's a bit of criticism against the US, because when I grew up, the US was always like the leading star when it came to rebellious youth, the entertainment for the young people in music and comics and films and everything. And it was such an inspiration for someone from Europe. We consumed a lot of American culture in Sweden when I was young. But I think somewhere that all went lost, and they're not anymore in the front when it comes to rock music and stuff like that. So it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek reminder to the US that they they had something and they lost it, and they should take it back, really.
Anthem for America is a slower track. It's still kind of up-tempo, but a lot slower than the previous track. It sounds a bit more anthemic, if you will. Huh? Huh? No? Alright. The song is pretty catchy. It has a nice pace to it. It kind of makes me think a bit of Def Leppard's Hysteria album, but better. I quite enjoy the lyrics to this track. He's basically calling out Americans for conforming, saying we used to be on top, we used to be the front runners when it came to trying new things in music, and now we're just conforming to corporate radio. And he's right about all of that. I especially like the line about 1993. I saw in an interview where he clarified a little bit more of what he meant with this line, but I still like it. It is the point in this country where grunge really took over and hard rock was no longer popular. The solo is pretty decent. It's a little bit too short, but I like what's there. The chorus is super catchy. I really like the pacing to this track. And as I've said before, I like the lyrics. This is another good track. I like this one a lot. The Power is the first song on this album that I don't really care for that much. It's not awful, but it's not one I plan on going back to. It moves at a snail's pace. The song opens up with the chorus over a drum beat, and I really don't like this chorus in general, but I especially don't like it without music backing it up. The guitars have a very Def Leppard sound to them. That's not necessarily a bad thing, just something I noticed. This song moves at a snail's pace. I really wish they had sped it up a little bit. I do appreciate the lyrics, which again have this positive vibe to them. Something you don't get much on albums these days, but this is just not a track I connect with. Reach Out is a bit more up-tempo than the two previous tracks. It's also a bit more melodic. I really like the verses to this track. They have a nice melody, a nice pacing. I like the mix of keyboards with a distorted guitar riff that's balanced pretty well for a melodic track. The main thing I can't get into with this song is the chorus. I do like the upbeat message of the song, at least that's my takeaway from the lyrics, but I can't get into that melody for the chorus. It just sounds a bit too cheesy for me. It's not an awful track, but it just doesn't work for me. Then we get a pointless instrumental track. I'm not really sure why this song is on the album. I'm not going to say it doesn't sound badass, because the keyboards and guitars have this badass 80s movie kind of vibe to them. Like this track could have been played in an 80s movie when some shit was about to go down, and it would work perfectly. The title track is finally another song that I like. It's also finally another heavier track. We haven't had one of those since Rise Above. I like the guitar riff, and I like the pacing of this track. The vocals fill out the verses very nicely. What's interesting to me about this song is, after the first verse you would expect it to go into the chorus, but it doesn't. It goes into another guitar riff, then goes into the second verse. I like this change. So many modern songs seem like they're just designed around a chorus, with the barest of minimum effort put into the verses or the instrumental break or anything like that. So I really like taking the focus off of the chorus for this song, just for a change of pace. There is still a chorus. It plays after the second verse and again at the end of the song, but I like that this song isn't all chorus. This song also has my favorite solo on the album. It is a bit short for my taste, but it's still good. Caught Between the Rock and Roll feels like a lesser version of Anthem of America. It's a little bit slower, but has a similar heaviness to it, which is not very heavy at all. This is my least favorite track out of the songs that I like. I would put this song on the good side of okay. I'm not skipping the track or anything when it comes on, but it's not one that I'm really looking forward to hearing. It's got a decent guitar solo, although that solo is a bit too short. The melodies are alright, I just feel like they've done this song earlier on the album, and they did it better. In the Middle of Nothing is pretty much a ballad. It moves at a snail's pace, and again has a Def Leppard Hysteria vibe to it. I would say this song is on the weaker side of okay. I don't hate it, but it's not one that I really want to listen to, and I would consider skipping it when listening to the album. We've already had a ton of slower paced songs on this album, so at this point I've just tuned out. One Fire, One Goal is a little bit more up-tempo than a lot of the tracks on here. It's also one of the softest songs on the album. And I really like this track a lot. It's got a nice pace to it. I really like the verses, the mix of some slightly heavier bits with softer moments. The chorus is really catchy. There's one part of the chorus that I feel like could be a little bit better when he uses the line, "I will be the one, I'll never let it go." I feel like that line could have been a little stronger, but overall the chorus is still really catchy and I really enjoy it. The guitar solo was pretty decent, and this might be my third favorite track on the album. I really like this one a lot. The album ends with the song Thief in the Night. This song is a bit disappointing. After an intro, it goes into a reasonably heavier, up-tempo song. I really like the verses, even though I feel like they've done this before. They've got a nice pacing to them. One guitar follows the rhythm section pretty well, and another comes in with a nice guitar lick to balance out the rhythm of the verses. Where the song falls off is in the chorus, which isn't really catchy. It feels very weak and doesn't really go with what the song feels like it's building up to. Again, it's not an awful track. There's not really a bad song on here, but it's kind of a weak way to end the album. All in all, I feel like Street Lethal is an improvement over the two previous albums, but it's still nowhere near the quality of the first four. There are a number of songs that I really like on here, but quite a few filler tracks. At least I can't say the filler tracks are as bad as some of the tracks I don't like on the two previous albums. It's a decent album and one I would recommend to any fan of this band or any fan of 80s style hard rock.
I'm conservative in that sense that I think that it's important sometimes to go back and realize that the thing you tried maybe wasn't a change for the better, you know? I'm all for changes, but I'm also all for acknowledging that it didn't work out and you know, go back, restart from where it was good last time. And that goes for everything, I think, in you know, entertainment and politics and everything. But there is like this sense that everything new is automatically better, and I don't agree with that. So I'm trying to backtrack where I think that rock kind of lost the touch, at least in some sense. Because I mean, there's been good stuff since '93. I know I sing that everything kind of went south after that time, but I really do think that a lot of things in rock music changed, and we can also see the decline of rock music as kind of the mainstream genre, which it's been since like the 50s, at least up to 2000 or something like that. Whereas now you don't hear it on the mainstream radio anymore.